This video is going to be talking about the mystery of the Minecraft moon. What the mystery is, what it could mean, why it's important, what next steps we could take as far as where to go in this mystery. Because we have a few clues, but not entirely. I'm not entirely sure where to go next. But I did some research. I have a few things I'd like to talk about regarding both the moon, both in this game and in the real world. And you could take a few connections and see, try to get a path from there. It's analyzing the whole aspect behind it. So, to give some context on the mystery of the moon, I made an iceberg in November of this year, so a month ago. I had another iceberg in July, but this is the one where I started actually researching and writing a Google Doc talking about every entry on this list. So I have all this, and what I put at the bottom, based on something a friend gave me, was don't look at the moon. And where it basically originated from was I was DM'd this image right here. It was on some messenger site called Messenger Geek, I think. My friend would know more about it. But it was just a bunch of rumors that this one guy found about the moon. There were 8 of them in total. So I've done this one. I've done this one. I wasn't able to do 3. I wasn't sure how. I've done this one. I tried doing this. I've done this is the one that crashed the game. I wasn't sure how to do this, and I haven't done this. This is the one that crashed the game. So this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. This was the only one that worked. And if I posted a video, you can see what happened. I looked at it for 10 minutes at night, and then my fucking computer crashed. This is the error screen on my computer. It's just in a bunch of languages. I thought it was code when I first looked at it, but it's just in a bunch of languages, so you know what the error was. Or in this case, just that you have to restart your computer. And then a few days later, when I opened up the world again, it was just covered in endstone. And I noticed this a lot later. There was this entity or monster or whatever. But what's important is that this entire world was turned into endstone. Everything was corrupted, and everything was just the same block. And you might notice the texture for endstone very closely matches the texture of the moon. So that's what sort of jump-started this whole idea that there's a mystery behind this. This corruption is telling us something, and that there's some sort of clue or next step that we have to find based off of this. So yes, this entity is important. I'll talk about it later. But first, the whole history of digital-based mysteries, usually called ARGs. There was the first one, I believe it was for the movie. It was for the movie Artificial Intelligence, made by Microsoft, I believe. And it was just a bunch of different homepages linking to different places. You follow these paths, and this ARG in specific wasn't about anything real. It was just a fictional event for a fictional movie. But it sort of jump-started this whole idea that you can create interactive stories within the internet by just stringing things together, stringing places together. Everything is not on the same site. You have to search things yourself. So going back to this, obviously, the mystery started in Minecraft. It wouldn't necessarily end or continue in Minecraft. There'd be some other place we'd have to search for. We also had the Blair Witch Project, which was a very popular mystery, also fictional for a fictional movie, but it was made in this very real format of like sort of found footage vibes, to the point where people didn't know if they were real or even fake. Obviously, they turned out to be fake, but a lot of people assumed it was actually real in some sort of like, someone making a hoax or urban legend, even not fucking marketing material. So this was fun to follow back in the day. And yeah, moving on from ARGs into more traditional, I believe, in YouTube, you'd find this sort of mystery stuff more often. Analog horror, such as Local 58, which is coincidentally, and I don't think this is a coincidence, but the first analog horror ever to be popularized, Local 58, was about the moon not being what it seemed. I mean, this whole eldritch being or whatever. I don't exactly think the moon is an eldritch being, but I'd like to talk more about this. I need to give my evidence first in this video. Another form of horror that you might have seen on the internet, besides ARGs and analog horror, are creepypastas. And there was one very popular creepypasta, which I don't think coincidentally was also about the moon. And it actually, I say this is just a creepypasta, but it also had its own ARG in the form of this one website, the Moon Children website, which was a cult about the moon. So in this story, the moon isn't exactly some eldritch being or necessarily evil in any way, but there are people that are worshipping this moon in a very cult-like manner, and they are the ones doing malevolent things. So this whole website is a fun read. I think there's archives. It might still be up. I'm not sure. I just googled this and posted this. And the idea of the moon not being what it seems has spread to even movies and TV shows, because you have this from Doctor Who. This is a creature that hatched from the moon. So the moon in the Doctor Who universe wasn't actually a moon. It was an egg of some sort housing a creature, creating a home for it of sorts, until it was time for it to be hatched. So you can see each of these three things that I listed right here each have different interpretations of what the moon is. One says it's alive, one says there's cult members that are essentially acting as representatives of the moon. And what is that? The moon itself is not alive, but there's something within it that is sort of tied to the moon. So a lot of these things are about malevolent entities tied to the moon, which I think is interesting, and I think could be a good topic of discussion. I also have this screenshot from a movie called The Truman Show. If you haven't seen The Truman Show, I've watched it. It is a good movie. I'm not sure if this counts as a spoiler, but in the movie The Truman Show, Truman, this guy, realizes his life is a lie. And one of the first ways he realizes this is seeing that the moon is not what it seems. It's deceptive. In his world, this moon is not even real. It's a fake moon. There's people inside of it watching his every movement. Again, tying back to this whole thing that there's something tied to the moon that's acting as a malevolent presence, going as far as being inside the moon itself. So every time there's some sort of piece of horror or, some sort of commentary on the moon, it's about something acting as a representative of the moon, acting, as a means of, um, as a means of, um, so I've listed out from what I could gather from researching what the moon could symbolize, and there's quite a few, both positive and negative. I tried taking the most popular symbolisms for the moon because I think those are the ones that are going to drive the mystery further the most. So first we have the passing of time, which ties the most to where this mystery originally began in Minecraft, because it only began when you looked at the moon for the entire night, the full moon cycle. Just for the entire night. So passing of time plays a big role in this mystery with the moon. We also have enlightenment or illumination. You can take this both as a metaphor or literally. You can see right here, the moon is literally illuminating the world, but with the whole cult thing, it's literally enlightenment or illuminating the mind, which could mean something. Maybe this mystery is shedding light on the nefarious things the moon could be doing. What it has to do with Minecraft specifically, I'm not entirely sure. But right. This the agent. What I like to call the moon agent. So remember what I was talking about this whole time with things being connected to the moon, acting as representatives of the moon, being these malevolent entities, setting up conversations between us and the moon. This is another example of that. Um, what this entity is, what it wants from us, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to be talking about that in another video, but what you need to know is that this trend is still continuing. So I feel like the fact that all these different pieces of media about the moon have this same pattern within them means that they all know something about the moon, the moon as a whole in real life, and this is just commentary that they're saying based on what they've learned about the moon. And they're all doing this in their own different perspectives. One is saying the moon itself is alive. One is saying the people worshipping it are evil. One is saying there's something in it that's alive. One is saying the moon is just not what it seems. It's not even a moon at all. It's something else entirely. And I feel like all these different interpretations are correct to an extent. They're just only looking at one single angle of it. So I feel like the perfect way to move forward is to take all those interpretations and combine them into one cohesive narrative. Because I think they're all correct on some things, but not everything. And if you put them together, you'll figure out why this whole thing is the way it is. And that brings me to the third piece of symbolism about the moon. Um, the third piece of symbolism about the moon, the subconscious mind, and actually this ties back to Minecraft in an important way because it represents the fuck. I knew this. I had this in my mind when I was starting the video. This is this the mind, like the mental aspect of this whole thing. You could you. One piece of symbolism about the moon. The subconscious mind. We also have impossibility and overcoming impossibility, such as when we put a man on the moon, which is probably the whole motive behind this ARG. When left with no clues, it's up to the person who found this. Fuck. If you're left with no clues, you have to find your own path forward. That's the overcoming impossibility part of this whole mystery. And then lastly, we have peace and tranquility, which is a deception, as you've seen with the Truman Show, as you've seen with the Moon Children being a cult, but as like you've seen with the local 58 ARG, which tells people to look at the moon, even though it would kill you. I think this is what I think the through line of the mystery is, that the moon is not what it seems. It gives this feeling of peace and tranquility. If you play Minecraft, you think the moon. My hands are numb. You think the moon is peaceful, gives off this calm feeling, even in like a hostile nighttime world. But as you've seen with the nighttime, looking at the moon for the entire night video, it's not the case. There's something about it, and the agent too plays a role. The agent, whether benevolent or malevolent, doesn't matter. I mean, I've been looking at that this is another video entirely. I'll record that later, but I've been doing some research of my own, and I think I know where to go now. Finding the agent opened up a lot, and I think I now know where to go. I just need to be completely sure of it. but I'll keep you guys posted.